Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome everyone to this morning's special Srimad Bhagavatam class in honor of Srimati Radharani on her Transcendental Appearance Day. Radhashtami Maha Mahotsava Ki Jai. So I've chosen a verse here from Canto 10, Chapter 30, Text 28. This is a very special verse. This is the one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam where the name of Srimati Radharani is mentioned, but in a hidden way. So you'll see it as we recite the Sanskrit. Where devotees can see the Sanskrit. Anaya radito nunam. 10:30:28. Sorry. We'll get there. 10:30:28. All right. Take 2. Anaya radito nunam. Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha. Yanno Vihaya Govinda. Rito Yam Anayadraha. This verse is actually spoken by the gopis in defense of Srimati Radharani. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha. Please chant. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yadno Vihaya Govinda Rito Yamana Yadraha Anayad Tornunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda. Prito Vihaya Govinda Prito Yamana Yadraha Anaya Radito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yamana Yadraha. All right, let's do the word for word. We can do this all together. Anaya, by her. Aradita, perfectly worshipped. Nunam, certainly. Bhagavan, the supreme of Godhead. Hari, Lord Krishna. Ishvara, the supreme controller. Yad, inasmuch as. Na, us. Vihaya, rejecting. Govinda, Lord Govinda. Prita, pleased. Yam, whom. Anayat, led. Raha, to a secluded place. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Who is that particular gopi? Jai Shri Radhe. So please repeat. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead. Govinda. Since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. I'm going to get back to the purport actually, because I want to go back a little bit here in time in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're going to skip back. If you want, you can also go back with the thing there to 10:29:47, because this is where this episode starts off. 29. So this is the end of the chapter called Krishna and the Gopis Meet. So in this chapter, the Gopis and Krishna meet, and they have so many loving exchanges, and they start to dance. They're having the Rasa Leela dance, but then something happens. Krishna detects some feeling which is not conducive towards the love that he wants to accentuate and relish in during the rasa dance. So this is speaking of that. It says, Evan Bhagavata Krishna labdamana mahatmana atmana me nirestrinam maninyo yadikam bhuvi. The gopis became proud of themselves for having received such special attention from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and each of them thought herself the best woman on earth. So this was, the purport says, the gopis were proud because they had attained as their lover the Dasi. So in a sense, they were proud of Krishna. So this seems like, that's not a fault to be proud of Krishna, right? If we're proud of ourselves, that's a fault. But if we're proud of Krishna, that Krishna is so wonderful, Krishna is so amazing, that's a good thing, right? We should be proud of Krishna. And we can also be proud of our relationship. I'm a devotee of Krishna. Such a wonderful thing to be a devotee of Krishna. So in the purport, that's being brought out, that it wasn't necessarily a fault. And it says here that also the pride of the gopis was a pretense created by Krishna's pastime potency in order to intensify their love for him through separation. So this is also, it's not that the gopis had the fault, the anartha of being proud. But one, it was a good thing because it was in relation to Krishna. And two, it was Krishna's desire that this feeling arise in them because he had a particular objective in mind, to intensify their love through separation. In this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes Bharad Muni's Natyam Shastra that direct contact is not fully appreciated until separation has been experienced. And then in the next verse here, Tasam tatso bhagamadam vikshyamanam chakeshava prashamaya prasadaya tatraivantaradiyata. Lord Keshava, seeing the gopis too proud of their good fortune, wanted to relieve them of this pride and show them further mercy. Thus he immediately disappeared. So the acharyas bring out the word prasadaya, which means mercy. It was actually Krishna's mercy. Sometimes Krishna shows his mercy in ways that don't appear to us to be very merciful. The disciples of Prabhupada write, the Lord Krishna was not going to neglect the gopis. Rather, he would increase the power of their loving affairs by making another spectacular arrangement. After all, the gopis were basically proud of Krishna. He also made this arrangement, as we shall see, to show special favor to the beautiful young daughter of King Vrishabhanu. So this was another reason, is to increase their love through separation. That's one reason. And also to show us that pride is not something that Krishna likes. Of course, in this case, the gopis weren't really proud, but in our case, we are really proud sometimes. And so it's a lesson for us that when there's pride, then Krishna disappears. Krishna turns away from pridefulness. He's attracted by humility. And then the third reason is to show special favor, to glorify Srimati Radharani as the best of all transcendental cowherd girls of Vraj, who are all totally absorbed in love with him. But of all his lovers, Srimati Radharani is the most beloved and the best at giving him transcendental pleasure. So this pastime glorifies Srimati Radharani. And in the Kavi Karnapur's book, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, he says this very poetically. He says, the gopis were on a boat, sailing on the river, being pushed by the winds of prema. So you can imagine there's a sailboat pushed by the winds. The gopis are on that boat, and the wind that's pushing them along is prema, is their love for Krishna. So they're gliding, on the surface of the water, relishing the excitement of these waves. Then suddenly Krishna broke the boat, and the gopis had to bail out the water of pride. A nice way of putting it. So who caused the water of pride to come into the boat? Krishna. Krishna broke the boat, right? Krishna came and he caused some crack there in the hull of the ship. And then the water started gradually coming in. And then who had to bail it out? The gopis. So this is Krishna. So Krishna left suddenly. And it's described that it was so sudden that, at that time in the Rasa Leela, Krishna expands himself to be with every gopi, just like we see here in the beautiful painting. So Krishna's with every gopi, and the gopis are all interacting with him in their own unique, loving ways. They're all serving him in different ways according to their heart's desire to serve Krishna. And so one devotee, one gopi, she's about to put a garland on Krishna. So she's strung this beautiful garland, and now's the moment when Krishna's right there with her. She feels like Krishna's only with me. I just want to offer him this garland I made with love. And she's just about to put the garland on Krishna, and Krishna's gone, right? She's just about to let it go. She lets it go, and she's thinking it's going to fall on Krishna's shoulders, and it falls on the ground. She's like, what happened? And then another gopi, she's dancing with Krishna, and she's, just about to go in for the twirl. She twirls around, and when she looks back, when she comes around full circle and where Krishna is supposed to be, he's not there. Where's Krishna? So all of them have this experience of, Krishna's there, and suddenly he's not there anymore. He just disappeared from all of them. And so all of a sudden, whereas just a minute ago, they were, absorbed in so much ecstasy, so much bliss, now all of a sudden they're plunged into the ocean of grief and separation from Krishna. So this pain of separation from Krishna is very, very intense for the gopis because of the intensity of their love. So we can experience this also in our relationships, that proportionate to the intensity with which we love someone is the pain that we feel when we're separated from them. And, if anyone has had the unfortunate experience of, losing someone dear to them, having a loved one die, especially if you're a parent and you have a child that dies untimely when they're just small, it's just so heart-wrenching. It's maddening. It's enough to make the person just go insane, actually. And it just tears your heart apart day and night. I remember one time I was actually at Radhakund last year, and I was going to visit a friend who lives there, and she's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, so I was on the way to the house, and we had to pass through this little area where there was a lot of people gathered, and there was a lot of emotion. And you could hear people wailing, just wailing and screaming. And the energy was like very intense and intensely disturbing. And I was just like, what is going on? And then my friend said that the family just had a child die. So it was this emotion of just like wailing out and total grief, just maddening grief, forgetting everything else, not caring about what people think of you, like just the world is over. And so, we feel this, we can feel this intensity of grief and separation from a loved one. But who is our most dear loved one? Who do we have actually the closest relationship with? That's Krishna. For every soul, Krishna is the dearmost object of love. Our closest friend, our best friend is Krishna. So here we are in the material world, separated from Krishna. Why are we not wailing? Why are we not beating our head against the wall, in pain of separation? So Bhagavatam describes, because our hearts are steel framed. So that love is inside. The love is inside the heart, but it's trapped, it's caged within a steel or an iron cage. And it can't get out. So we don't experience it. But the fire of Krishna consciousness, the fire of bhakti, is so strong that it's able to melt even steel, even the steel frame of our hearts. So if we go on practicing bhakti, then gradually the steel frame will soften, and it'll start to crack, and some of these ecstatic loving emotions for Krishna that are in there will emerge, and we'll start to leak out, and we'll taste real love for Krishna, that love that is ours, that is by our nature, that we have this love for Krishna, and it'll gradually flood the heart. So this is the stage of bhava bhakti, when the bhav, ecstatic loving emotion for Krishna, floods the heart, and the heart becomes very soft, like melted butter. So Srimati Radharani's heart is described like that, as being like melted butter, so soft. And the soft-heartedness of the prema bhaktas, of those who have actually love for Krishna, gives an extreme sweetness and tenderness to all of their interactions with each other. So, sometimes devotees can be critical, can be harsh with each other. And this is not the nature of love for Krishna. Radharani is not harsh with other devotees. So we can tell a devotee's advancement in Krishna consciousness by the symptom of sweet, affectionate, loving dealings with other devotees. So in this pastime, Krishna warns about pride. Right? That's what we're seeing here, is that Krishna doesn't like it when we think that we're better than others, when we think that we're something special, the most fortunate person in the world, or I'm the best at doing this particular service. Even if you are, objectively speaking, from a material point of view, the best person, like you make the best garlands, or no one cooks as good as you, or no one dresses the deities as beautifully as you do, or no one plays mridanga as skillfully as you do. Materially, that may be an objective fact, right? But all of our material qualities, we need to remember, are due to karma, right? They're basically due to our past credits that give us a propensity for those things, and due to our present, how much practice we've put into it, which is also a kind of karma. When we act, when we practice things in this world, we became good at it. So that's all good. That's all great when we do it in the service of Krishna, but we should remember that these abilities are also temporary, right? Anything material is temporary. So we shouldn't think that because I can do this better than another devotee, that I am intrinsically better than another devotee, because that's not the case. Because Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu, that he sees all living entities as equal, as we are on the spiritual platform. And Krishna is not so impressed by our material abilities anyway. He's impressed by the bhakti, the devotion with which we offer those material abilities to him. And we see this in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra when they're building the bridge to Lanka, right? This is the famous example of this, that Hanuman was carrying big boulders and throwing them in there to make the bridge to Lanka. And these little squirrels and spiders were there coming with little grains of sand or little tiny pebbles. And Hanuman was thinking, what is the use of their service? Look at what I'm doing. I'm so much bigger. I'm so much stronger. I'm doing so much bigger and better service. You squirrels and spiders, just get out of the way. But Lord Ramachandra wasn't impressed by that. He wasn't happy by that at all. And he didn't think, I'll just tolerate this because Hanuman's doing great service. He's doing service leaps and bounds above everybody else. No, he chastised Hanuman. He said, Hanuman, it's not like that. You know, these spiders and squirrels have just as much devotion as you do, and they're doing their best in the same way that you're doing your best. So don't think that their service is less than yours. Everybody is serving according to their capacity. And in fact, Srimati Radharani actually supports the underdog. So we see this in the pastime of Radharani has this amazing pastime with a jackal. This takes place near Radha Kund in Vrindavan, that there's this jackal. So jackals, we hear all throughout the scriptures that jackals are inauspicious animals, right? Like at the time when Duryodhana was born, the jackals were howling, and the sages could understand that this was an inauspicious birth, and that this child would cause a lot of harm and destruction to the dynasty. So jackals, they're these, if you've ever been to Mayapur especially, there's many jackals prowling around Mayapur at night, and they're very creepy. They look like dogs, but they're the scruffiest, mangiest dogs you ever seen, and they're just like, they slink around. They're super creepy and scary. And they live in holes in the ground. So one day there was a jackal. It was a young jackal. It was just a small jackal, and some village boys were pestering it like anything. They were throwing stones at the jackal and beating it with sticks, and they would surround the jackal. It would try to run away, and there were so many boys. It couldn't get away. Whichever way it ran, they would hit it with sticks or throw stones at it, and say mean things and laugh at the jackal. So finally, the jackal managed to go through somebody's legs and run and get into the hole, into its burrow. And then the boys thought, now we're going to catch him. Now he's trapped in the burrow. So they took some sticks and they got some matches and they started a fire there, right at the opening of the burrow. And they were making like that, fanning the smoke so that all the smoke would go inside. They're thinking that the jackal's going to suffocate, or he's going to have to come out. And when he comes out, then we're going to continue our fun with him, torturing him basically. So sometimes, the village boys can be a little mean to the animals. You see that sometimes even in Vraj, they're pestering some poor animal. So this was going on. Gradually Srimati Radharani got to know about it, that this jackal was being tortured, and she thought, no, this is Vrindavan, this is Radha Kund, this is my place. No living entity should have to suffer like that. Nobody should be tortured. in my dham. And so she told Lalita to go there and to stop those boys from doing it. So Lalita went there, and Lalita, she's very strong personality, very intense, and she went there and she said, "You boys, just get out of here, leave the jackal alone." So she drove the boys away, she chastised them, and the jackal came out of the hole. And Lalita Devi, she assured the jackal, she said, "Don't worry, those boys are gone." And she picked up the jackal, and she carried the jackal to Srimati Radharani. And then Radharani, she took the jackal on her lap, and she was petting it to try to relieve it of its stress and calm it down. And she told the jackal that from this day on, you will enter my eternal pastimes as one of my personal loving pets. So she gave her mercy to that jackal. So we see that Srimati Radharani, she doesn't discriminate between who's qualified, who's unqualified, who has an auspicious life, who has an inauspicious life. It doesn't matter. Srimati Radharani's compassion knows no bounds. And so this jackal is actually compared to us, that here we are in the material world, in a state of material bondage. So in the same way that jackal was trapped in the burrow, so we're trapped here in the cycle of repeated birth and death in the material world. And the jackal is an inauspicious being, and we're leading our inauspicious lives in an inauspicious situation in this inauspicious body, surrounded by, so many difficulties. And the sticks and stones and fire that the boys were using to torment the jackal are compared to the threefold miseries of material nature, right? The miseries caused by our own bodies and minds, the miseries caused by other living entities, and the miseries caused by the natural elements and natural disasters like that. So we're suffering in this way just like the jackal. And Lalita represents the spiritual master who comes and pushes away all of our material suffering and releases us from material bondage and brings us very lovingly to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. And then Srimati Radharani welcomes us back as servants in her eternal pastimes. And she recommends us to Krishna. So like that, Srimati Radharani is very merciful. And this mood of Srimati Radharani of overlooking the faults is very pleasing to Krishna. It's uplifting to everyone, and Radharani is giving the highest benediction. So this is why Krishna leaves the rasa dance, is because he wants to show special favor, special appreciation for these transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. He wants to be alone with her, to show everyone that she's not just another gopi. She is the best. She's the best gopi, like we are singing, Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. That out of all the gopis, out of all the Gokula Tarunis, so we were explaining the other day that Taruni means a young girl, that she's not a little girl, but she's not yet a woman. She's just a budding adolescent, Taruni. So out of all of the Tarunis in Gokul, the Gokula Tarunis, so there's a whole circle, there's a whole mandala of these beautiful Gokula Tarunis. And out of the whole Gokula Taruni mandala, Srimati Radharani is the Mahita. She's the greatest. So Krishna wanted to show this, the Radharani's greatness, that she is unequaled. She excels all others. So Krishna's left the rasa dance. The gopis are distressed. And so they head out to search for Krishna. And that's the next chapter. Chapter 30 is entitled The Gopis Search for Krishna. So they're searching and searching. They're looking everywhere. And they're desperate to find Krishna, right? They're crying. Their hearts are just dying for Krishna, to see him again and to have him amidst them again. And they're asking everyone because they're desperate. They're desperate to find Krishna. So they're asking the trees. They're saying, "Oh, trees, we can see that your leaves and your flowers and your buds are standing up in ecstasy. So we're surmising that the son of Nandaraj must have just passed through here. Can you please tell us which way he went?" But the trees are just standing there silently. And the gopis are frustrated with the trees. So they keep walking on looking for Krishna. And then they look down and they're looking at the earth. So they say, "Oh, earth, what auspicious activities have you done to be able to be always in contact with the lotus feet of Krishna? Wherever Krishna is, we don't know where he is right now, but you must know where he is because he's always touching you. You can feel the impact of his feet on your surface right now. So by that sensation, you know where he is. So you can tell us where he is. So please tell us, where should we go to find him? But the earth doesn't say anything in return. So they keep walking, and then they see some deer. And they say, "Oh dear, you have beautiful lotus eyes." And I can see that those eyes are full of tears. Just like we've seen you before. We've seen when Krishna plays the flute and we all come running, and you come running too. And you're so fortunate, actually more fortunate than us, because our husbands don't support us in going to see Krishna. We have to break through, we have to escape from them by force, and we have to approach Krishna alone. But you're so lucky because you can come with Krishna together with your husbands, and you can be together, and you can serve Krishna together by your services, your loving glances. And we notice that. We notice how when you glance at Krishna, your eyes are just full of tears, and sometimes the tears are streaming down your cheeks and all the way down your beautiful long necks. And we see that your eyes are full of tears right now, so we think that Krishna must have just passed through. So please tell us, how can we find Krishna? And the deer don't say anything in return. So the gopis, their desperation only increases. So they're walking, and now they're starting to feel depressed and hopeless. They're just looking down at the ground. And then looking down at the ground, they notice, oh, what is that? And they see a footprint of Krishna. And they know that it's Krishna's footprints because Krishna's feet have the special symbols, all these special symbols on each foot. And so they know this is Krishna's. And now they become really excited. Now there's hope. Hope comes back to them. Their grief starts to fade away, and the hope of meeting Krishna arises in their hearts. So now they're following the footsteps. They're literally tracking Krishna the way like a hunter tracks an animal. They're seeing the foot. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. Sometimes they lose it because there's a lot of like moss in the forest floor, or there's a lot of stony area, a lot of like long flat stones. It doesn't leave any prints. So they're like, oh no, where is it? Oh, it's over here. I see it. Come. Yes, that's it. Let's keep going. So like that, they're all looking and finding the footprints, and they're going like that. And then all of a sudden, somebody notices something else there. And they're like, oh wait, what is this? This is a different footprint. They see it's a little smaller, and the symbols on that footprint are different. And then one of Radharani's gopis notices, oh, I know that footprint. That's Srimati Radharani's footprint. So then, actually we can go to, excuse me, chapter 30, text 26. This is where the gopis discover that second footprint. So I'll just say, Taistai padaistad padavim anvat. Just say it together with me. Anvichintya grato bala vadva padaisu prikratani vilokyartai samupravun. Sorry, I can't see it very well. The gopis began following Krishna's path, as shown by his many footprints. But when they saw that these prints were thoroughly intermixed with those of his dearmost consort, they became perturbed and spoke as follows. So, who became perturbed? Of course, it wasn't Radharani's gopis. It wasn't Radharani's friends. But we were talking about how there are different groups of devotees, of gopis. There are 4 different groups of gopis. So there are Radha's own group, and then there's another group which is friendly to Srimati Radharani's group. Then there's a group which is neutral. They don't really mind whether Krishna's with Radharani or not. It just doesn't faze them. And then there's another group which is actually they're rivals to Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani's competitors, headed by Chandravali. So this is Chandravali's gopis who are perturbed. The acharyas explain like this. So Chandravali's gopis are perturbed. They're thinking, how dare Krishna abandon us for this cowherd girl? Right? She's nobody special. She's just another cowherd girl. So why would he leave us to be with her like that? So they're a little perturbed, and they say this. So now this next group is spoken by the gopis who are more neutral. So this is text 27. Kasya padani chaitani yataya nandasunana amsanyasta prakoshtaya kareno karinayata. These gopis said, Here we see the footprints of some gopi who must have been walking along with the son of Nanda Maharaj. He must have put his arm on her shoulder, just as an elephant rests his trunk on the shoulder of an accompanying she-elephant. So they're comparing them to the male elephant and the she-elephant. And if you've ever seen an elephant walk, the elephants in Mayapur, when you see them walk, of course, I think they're not there in Mayapur anymore, unfortunately, but they kind of swagger, they heavy steps, and they walk slowly, and they sway, and their body goes down and on this side and up on this side and down on this side and up on this side, and it's very beautiful. It's like waves on the ocean, It's their body just becomes like wave-like. So they're imagining that Krishna is walking like this, and this very this confident, very male kind of swagger, and that he's got his arm around Srimati Radharani's shoulder like that, because the footprints are very close together. So it's not that they're walking separately, they're walking very close together like one kind of unit. They notice like that. So now the next verse, this is the verse that we recited at the beginning of the class, text 28. This is Radharani's gopis, and they're observing how Chandravali's gopis are perturbed by the fact that Krishna's abandoned all of them for Radharani, and they're saying, Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan harir ishvaraha yanno vihaya govinda krito yam anayadraha. Certainly, this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. So they're saying, I don't know what you're so perturbed about. Obviously, the reason that Krishna abandoned all of us to be with this gopi is because she's the best. I mean, isn't that clear? This particular gopi must have perfectly, none of our worship was perfect. None of our worship could compare to the perfection of Srimati Radharani's worship. And therefore, just to be with someone who knows how to perfectly worship him, who knows how to perfectly please him, then he left all of us whose service is imperfect, who maybe sometimes we give him a slight bit of displeasure. He just wanted to be with the person who pleases him fully and completely. Doesn't it make total sense? So like that. So now we'll read the purport here. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that the word Aradhita refers to Srimati Radharani. He comments, the sage Shukadeva Goswami has tried with all endeavor to keep her name hidden, but now it automatically shines forth from the moon of his mouth. That he has spoken her name is indeed her mercy, and thus the word Aradhita is like the rumbling of a kettle drum sounded to announce her great good fortune. So, Shukadeva Goswami, he's very careful throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam to not mention the name of Srimati Radharani. And that's because in Radha and Krishna's eternal Leela, Shukadeva Goswami is a very intimate servant of Radha and Krishna. And so if he would say the name of Radha, then his heart would just melt. And he would become so ecstatic that he wouldn't be able to continue reciting Radha and Krishna's pastimes or complete the Bhagavatam. And he's sensitive to the fact that here's Maharaj Parikshit, this great devotee who's on the verge of death and who really wants to, immerse himself in Krishna at the time of leaving his body so that he can go back to the spiritual world. So in his service, in his Vaishnav Seva, in his service to the Vaishnava, Maharaj Parikshit, in supporting him and helping him in his journey back home, back to Godhead, he knows that he needs to keep speaking. He needs to keep narrating the pastimes of Krishna and complete the Bhagavatam. And if he says the name of Radha, he's going to stop. He's just going to freeze. He's going to become stunned, speechless, and he won't be able to continue. And then what's going to happen to Maharaj Parikshit? So he controls himself. He has to contain and restrain himself from saying the name Radha. But here it says that he's tried with all endeavor to keep her name hidden, but it shines forth. It's impossible to hide the moon. So it shines forth from the moon of his mouth. Just like if the moon is covered with a cloud, you can still see that some moonlight is coming. There's a shiny rim on the cloud, or that cloud is a little brighter than the other clouds in the dark sky, which are just totally black. So we're not seeing the full name of Radha, but we're seeing a little bit of glimmer behind the cloud of Shukadeva Goswami's veil, the veil that he's putting up, so that he is able to contain himself. So this actually makes, when things are hidden, it becomes sometimes more tasteful than when you just come right out and say something. There's this story of that Bhurijan Prabhu tells, that one time he made a ring, or he had a ring made, a golden ring made for Srila Prabhupada. And so it was this beautiful golden ring, and it was engraved inside. It had an engraving that said Jai ISKCON. So he gave this ring to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada, he appreciated it, and he put it on his finger. So then some days later, Srila Prabhupada was getting his massage, and there was a devotee there. His name was Sudam Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's disciples, was massaging Srila Prabhupada. So he was massaging all over, and he was massaging his arms, and then massaging his hands, and then he saw that Srila Prabhupada had this nice gold ring that he'd never noticed before. So then he says, Srila Prabhupada, where did you get this new ring? And then Bhurijan Prabhu happened to be sitting there. He was sitting there in the vicinity of the place where Srila Prabhupada was getting his massage. So Srila Prabhupada, he just smiled, and he turned and looked at Bhurijan Prabhu with a very loving smile, and he looked him in the eye, and then he just turned away, and he looked back at Sudam Prabhu, and he said, someone. Someone. And later on, Bhurijan Prabhu reflected that he was thinking that if Srila Prabhupada had said his name, that, Bhurijan Prabhu over here gave me this ring, then he might have felt like a tinge of pride, like I did some special service for Prabhupada, and Prabhupada accepted it. But because Prabhupada didn't say his name, because he just said, someone, but he gave him that look, then it was more sweet. It was like Srila Prabhupada and him had this little secret, like a silent pact of love between them that was unknown to anyone else. And he really felt that. He felt that intimacy, that it was a closeness that was even more personal than if Srila Prabhupada had actually said his name. So he appreciated that. And so this is the nature of love, that sometimes it's indirect. And that's a feature of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes with any of the gopis is that it's a lot of indirect speech, right? It's called parokshavad, indirect speech, in which they'll say something, but there'll be some hidden meaning. They'll just say something that just may even seem like some insult or some, uncouth words or something, but hidden, there's another meaning that's full of deep, deep affection and appreciation. And this makes the loving exchanges between Radha and Krishna very sweet and very confidential. So, yeah, it's not always necessary to say, I love you, right? Those 3 words are very easy to say, but it's harder to actually truly love someone. So sometimes we see that Radha and her friends, when they talk to Krishna, because they have this contrary mood, that sometimes they say some harsh words. Like the other day we were telling the pastime about how Krishna came late for an arranged meeting, and the gopis were very upset, and Lalita was speaking very harshly to Krishna, and she ultimately just sent him away. Just get out of here. We don't want to see your face. So sometimes they speak very harshly, but it's all different flavors. It's all different flavors of their ecstatic love for Krishna. So we have to have no doubt that no matter what the gopis say, especially Srimati Radharani and her intimate friends, no matter what they say and do towards Krishna, it's all out of the deepest ecstatic love, and they do it for Krishna's pleasure, because Krishna loves that contrary nature, and that's why he keeps going to Srimati Radharani and leaving all the very submissive gopis behind. So I wanted to read a little bit from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's several places in Chaitanya Charitamrita that talk about Srimati Radharani and her love for Krishna, but I've chosen a part in the beginning. This is in Adi Leela chapter 4. I'll read a section here that starts from text 68. Are you going to put it up there? So Adi Leela chapter 4, text 68. Yeah, we can say the Bengali together. Nrsinga Rupu told me that this class could go along till like 9:30, so we have some time. So it's always sweet. Somehow, even though I don't understand Bengali, I know some words, like some familiar words, but somehow reading the Bengali of Chaitanya Charitamrita is just so sweet, that, I don't know, it just makes the English more, like 10 times more ecstatic when you read the Bengali. I don't know if others have experienced that, but I experienced it. Okay, so let's do it. Ladini Sara Prema Prema Sara Bhava Bhavera Paramakasta Nama Mahabhava. The essence of the Hladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhava, and the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhava. So, Srimati Radharani is the personification of Krishna's Hladini Shakti, his pleasure-giving potency, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying is the essence of love of God. So she's the personification of the essence of love of God in its highest, ultimate form of development. That's Srimati. Oh, that's called Mahabhav. All right, I'm jumping ahead. Let's go to the next one. Mahabhava. Oh, you're going to have to be fast, Ajay. Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurani Sarva Guna Kani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. So here's where he says, Shri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhav. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Text 70. Tayor apyubayor madhye radhika sarvatadika mahabhava sarupeyam gunar ativariyasi. Of these two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhava, and she surpasses all in good qualities. This is from Rupa Goswami's book, Ujjvala Nilamani. Krishna Prema Bhavita. Sorry. Krishna Prema Bhavita Yanra Chitendriya Kaya Krishna Nitya Shakti Radha Kridara Sahaya. Her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helped him in his pastimes. So everything about Radharani, her mind, her senses, her whole body is steeped in love for Krishna, because there's no difference between Radharani's body and soul. And she is the embodiment of love for Krishna in its essence, in its highest form, the highest form of prema, the highest form of loving emotion, Mahabhav. And her body is made of that. Every little atom, if you can call it an atom, every spiritual atom of her body is composed of Mahabhav, ecstasy, loving ecstasy for Krishna. And Prabhupada writes, Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. Okay, now we'll go to the next one. This is Brahma Samhita. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabhirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabhi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency Hladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated with ever-blissful spiritual rasa. So this verse is saying that Srimati Radharani resembles Krishna's own spiritual form. She's actually an expansion. She's Krishna's energy, so she's an expansion from Krishna's own spiritual form. And it's saying also that her companions, all of the gopis, are extensions of Srimati Radharani's bodily form. So all the gopis are expansions of Srimati Radharani. She's the origin of all gopis, all lovers of Krishna. In fact, all devotees. So let's continue. Krishna re karaya yaiche rasa asvadana kridar sahaya yaiche shuna vivarana. Now please listen to how Lord Krishna's consorts help him taste rasa and how they help him in his pastimes. Krishna Kanta Ganadeki Trividha Prakara Ekalakshmi Ganapure Mahishi Ganaara Rajangana Rupa Arakanta Ganasara Shri Radhika Haite Kanta Ganera Vistara. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Raj, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. Avatari Krishna Yaiche Kare Avatara Amshini Radha Haite Tina Ganera Vistara. Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. You see that Krishna Das Kaviraj is not shy to say the name of Radha. Fortunately for us. Vaibhava Ganayena Tanra Anga Vibhuti Bimba Pratibimba Rupa Mahishira Tati. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. Lakshmi Gana Tanra Vaibhava Vilasam Sharupa Mahishi Gana Vaibhava Prakasha Swarupa. The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Vilas. The queens are of the nature of her Vaibhava Prakash. There's different categories of expansions of Srimati Radharani. Akara Swabhava Bhede Vraja Devi Gana Kaya Vyuha Rupa Tanra Rasera Karana. The Vraja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and are the instruments for expanding rasa. Bahu Kanta Vina Mahera Sera Ulasa Lila Sahaya Lagi Bahuta Prakasha. Without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. So even though Srimati Radharani herself gives so much pleasure to Krishna, and she's made of pleasure-giving potency, but still it says without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. And therefore Radharani, because she knows how to give so much pleasure to Krishna, and she lives to give pleasure to Krishna, she knows how to increase Krishna's pleasure by expanding herself into so many other gopis and different forms of expansions which give even more pleasure to Krishna, or who give more pleasure to Krishna. Tara madhye vrajanana bhavarasa bhede Krishna ke karaya rasadika lila svade. Among them are various groups of consorts in Vraj who have varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. Now this is nice, it's all different names of Srimati Radharani. Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts. Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Pada Devata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Samohini Para. The transcendental goddess, Srimati Radharani, is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. I really like that phrase. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. Devi kahi dyotamana parama sundari kimba Krishna puja kridar vasati nagari. Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. He really unpacked that. There's a lot contained there in the word Devi. Krishnamai Krishnayara Bhitare Bahire Yana Yana Netra Pade Tanha Krishna Spure. Krishnamai means one who's within and without our Lord Krishna. She sees Lord Krishna wherever she casts her glance. She sees Krishna everywhere. Imva prema rasamaya Krishna raswarupa Tanra Shakti Tanra Saha Haya Ekarupa. Or Krishnamai means that she is identical with Lord Krishna, for she embodies the mellows of love. The energy of Lord Krishna is identical with him. Vishnavancha Purtirupa Kare Aradane Ataeva Radhika Nama Purana Vakane. Her worship, Aradhana, consists of fulfilling the desires of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Puranas call her Radhika. So the way that Radharani worships her is not like the way that we worships Krishna, is not the way we worship Krishna. Right? We go on the altar and offer incense, ghee lamp, flower, like that. But Radharani worships Krishna by dancing with him, by embracing him, by speaking so many sweet, affectionate words to him. Her worship is all of her loving gestures and loving activities with Krishna. So it's a very special worship. Text 88. Now this is a verse that will ring a bell to you now, hopefully. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha. Truly, the personality of Godhead has been worshipped by her. Therefore, Lord Govinda, being pleased, has brought her to a lonely spot, leaving all of us behind. So this kind of brings us full circle. Now we're back. So we're back here in the forest of Raj, where the gopis have just discovered, they haven't found Krishna yet, but they found his footprints, and they've seen that Srimati Radharani's footprints are there intertwined with Krishna's footprints. So now they're following two sets of footprints, and they're making all kinds of speculations. They're saying, oh, here, in this place, judging by the footprints, it looks like, they stopped and maybe they had a little lover's quarrel because the footprints moved apart from each other and they're facing each other. Or here, we see only half of Krishna's footprints, just the toes and the front part of his foot. So he must have been picking a flower to put in Radharani's hair. Or here we see only one set of footprints. So it must be Srimati Radharani got tired and asked Krishna and Krishna carried her. Like that, they're making all kinds of speculations about what they're doing. And then finally, we go here in chapter 30 to text 40, where the gopis find something. So, Shri Shuka Uvacha. I'll just read it. Anvichantyo Bhagavato Margam Gopyo Vidurita Dadrishu Priya Vishleshan Mohitam Dukitam Sakim. So that last line, Mohitam Dukitam Sakim. So they find their Saki. Sakim means their friend. But what state is she in? Mohitam. She's bewildered. And Dukitam. She's very sad. She's very distressed. So the whole time they're thinking, some of the gopis, not Radha's gopis. Radha's gopis are elated that Krishna's alone with Radha. But the other gopis are thinking, who is this gopi? Who does she think she is? Why? To choose her over us. And but when they see Srimati Radharani with this Mohitam, Dukitam, just very distressed. Actually, some of the acharyas say that Radharani was so grief-stricken that she fell unconscious and that she was lying there. And remember, it was the middle of the night. They're in the forest. So it's in the dark. There's no lights, there's no street lights. It's complete dark. The only light is a little moon filtering through the trees, but even that is sparse because this is in the dense forest. It's not in a clearing. So there's just some specks of moonlight by which they can discern that, oh, that's Srimati Radharani. So there's this young girl, very delicate, very, you know, just very delicate. And she's lying there on the ground in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the night, and she's distressed. She's lying there unconscious. It's a very devastating scene. And so even the gopis who were a little bit jealous of her before, they're thinking, oh, poor Srimati Radharani. Because Krishna left them, but at least they were together. They had each other, to cling to, commiserate with, and to, enjoy the excitement of finding Krishna like that. But Radharani here, she's alone with nobody to talk to, no shoulder to cry on, and just totally abandoned. And even more devastated than they are, because they didn't fall unconscious. Srimati Radharani was so afflicted that she just fell unconscious. So some of the gopis, they're getting a fan. They're trying to fan her, with a branch of a tree or something, and trying to fan her to revive her. They're gently massaging her shoulders and her feet and trying to make her come back to her senses. And finally, Srimati Radharani, she opens her eyes and she becomes conscious. And then all the gopis start bombarding her with questions. Like, what happened? How did you end up here? Were you with Krishna? Where did Krishna go? How could he leave you like this? Right? So they're asking her. One, they want to know, but two, they also want to empathize with her. So even Chandravali says, Radharani, this is terrible. How could Krishna do this to you? Right? So even she's changing her tune from how could Krishna leave us to be with her to how could Krishna mistreat you in this way? Certainly you didn't deserve it. We all know, even though sometimes we compete with you, but we all know that you're just everything you do is to please Krishna, and that you're so expert at pleasing Krishna. You don't deserve this kind of treatment. I feel so sad, and I'm feeling your pain. I'm suffering the same pain that you're feeling, and I'm with you. And let's unite together. Let's bond together now and try to find Krishna, all of us together. So then all these different gopis with their different moods from the different camps, they have this thing in common, that now they're all together. They're unified in the pain of separation from Krishna, and gone is any kind of tinges of jealousy or competitiveness that they had with Srimati Radharani. Now they're all feeling nothing but love and affection and compassion for each other, and they're looking for Krishna. So, and this is another reason why Krishna left the rasa dance, is because he detected this slight disunity. He detected that there was some tinge of criticism, that some gopis were thinking that, oh, who is this gopi? She's not as good as me. Krishna should be with me only, or something like that. There was just a little bit of a lacking of complete, uninhibited, unconditional love for each other within the hearts and minds of the gopis. So they all had complete love for Krishna, but their love for each other was not perfect. And so Krishna, he left all of them, and then he particularly put Radharani in the situation that all of them would appreciate her more and would understand her heart more, and would lose any feelings of jealousy or competitiveness or rivalry towards Srimati Radharani. So now all the gopis join together, and they go searching for Krishna. And they're looking here and there. They're not finding Krishna. They're going to the densest, most dark parts of the forest, which are the lairs of the animals, the vicious, vicious animals are. But they're fearlessly looking for Krishna, and they get stuck in thorns and thickets. Oh, this is hopeless. We're just getting tired and hurt and fearful. Why don't we just go back to the Yamuna, the same place where we were enjoying the rasa dance with Krishna before? And there's nothing, we just have to wait. So they realize that by their own efforts alone, there's no way that they can find Krishna. That is, it's only by Krishna's mercy that he's going to reappear. So that's the same thing with us, right? There's nothing ultimately that we can do to make Krishna appear in our lives. But we have to try. We try our best, but ultimately we have to just wait for Krishna to make his appearance, to reveal himself to us, to make his presence very vividly felt in our lives. So they all go back to the Yamuna, and at least this place is nice. It's a familiar space, beautiful Yamunas flowing there. Just sitting beside a river is always very calming, right? We feel that when we sit by a river, even if we're a little distressed or anxious about something. You go sit by the side of a river, it has that pacifying effect. So the Yamuna, and what to speak of Yamuna? The Yamuna is, herself a pure devotee of Krishna. So they're sitting there in the association of Yamuna Devi, and they're starting to feel a little more pacified. And this place is a clearing, so the moon is coming, so it's at least well lit. So they're feeling a little comforted there by the bank of the Yamuna. And so together they start singing. Let me just go to text 43 here. This is very nice. Tanmanaskas tadalapas tadvichestas tadatmika tadgunan eva gayantyo natma garani sasmaru. So this tat means that, or that person. So the that here, tat means Krishna. So it says tat manaskas, that their minds, man means the mind, their minds were filled with thoughts of him, of Krishna. And then tat alapas, alap means their conversations. So their speech, their conversations were all about him, Krishna. And then tat vichestas. So chesta means activities. And so tat vichestas means they were imitating his activities. And then tat atmika. Atmika means the self, the person. So tat atmika means that it's translated filled with his presence. They felt his personal presence amongst them by the other things, by filling their minds with him, by speaking about him, by imitating his activities. And also tat gunan eva gayantya. The gayantya means singing, and they were singing what? Tat gunan, about his qualities, about his glories. And while they were immersed in this absorption of thinking and singing and talking and imitating Krishna, then na atma agarani sasmaru. They forgot all about their homes and families. They were just totally immersed in Krishna. All external kind of aspects of their life that weren't directly connected to Krishna, all just fell away from their consciousness. So, the translation, their minds absorbed in thoughts of him, they conversed about him, acted out his pastimes, and felt themselves filled with his presence. They completely forgot about their homes as they loudly sang the glories of Krishna's transcendental qualities. And then the last verse of this pastime is very sweet also. Puna pulinam agatya kalindya Krishna bhavanaha samaveta jagu Krishnam tad agama kankshita. So this translation, the gopis again came to the bank of the Kalindi. Kalindi is another name for Yamuna. Meditating on Krishna and eagerly hoping he would come, they sat down together to sing of him. So this is very nice. The third line here says, Samaveta Jagu Krishnam. So Samaveta, we know from the Prema Dwani prayers that we sing at the end of Kirtan, right? Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. So Samaveta means joining together. So that when we say Samaveta, it's not the Samaveda. It's Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda. It means that all the devotees, all the bhaktas who are assembled here together. It literally means all glories to the assembled devotees. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. So here, it's very significant that Shukadeva Goswami is saying Samaveta, that they're joined together. Because before they weren't so unified, they weren't so joined together. But now, after this whole incident happened, now they're completely joined together. Their hearts, their minds are all on the same page. They're all immersed with love for Krishna and with love for each other. So he's emphasizing that their togetherness, that they are together. They are like, the gopis of Vrindavan all together. And so what are they doing together? Jagu Krishnam. Jagu means that they are singing. They sang Krishna, about Krishna. And so the whole next chapter is the Gopi Gita. Is all the beautiful songs and prayers that the gopis are singing together. They're on the bank of the Yamuna about Krishna. And the Jiva Goswami says that this also means that they were singing the Hare Krishna mantra. And the way Srila Prabhupada summarizes this chapter in the Krishna book is the chapter ends with, he says, they all the gopis sat down together and with their hearts full of love on the bank of the Yamuna, they sang Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's like sometimes, so they sing the Gopi Gita. This is actually what they're singing. But the acharyas say they also sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So it's like, when sometimes we'll get together and sing a bhajan. We'll sing some devotional song. And then always at the end of the devotional song, we'll do some Hare Krishnas, right? We'll go into the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is the origin of this this way of doing kirtan. Bhajan kirtan was started by the gopis, that they start off with some bhajan, with some prayers, and then they wrap it up with the Hare Krishna mantra. So all these things are going on. And this verse is amazing. It actually gives us so much guidance for how to chant the glories of Krishna, for how to chant the holy names. We see here, I'll just briefly, that we should chant the holy names together with other devotees. Samaveta, Jagu Krishnam. To chant together, right? Sankirtan. It's not just kirtan, but Sankirtan. That we chant the names, we do kirtan together with other devotees, following the footsteps of the gopis. And that we chant with feeling, right? Krishna bhavanaha. Bhava means feeling. So Krishna bhavanaha means meditating on Krishna with feeling, with love. My younger daughter's name is Krishna Bhava. So it means with love, with loving emotion for Krishna, full of loving emotion for Krishna. That's how we should chant. And the last thing, tad agama kankshitaha, eagerly desiring his arrival. So we should chant in this mood of, we should chant together with devotees. We should chant with real bhav, with real affection, loving feeling for Krishna. And we should chant with a very strong, ardent desire for Krishna to be present, for Krishna to appear, for Krishna to present himself in our kirtan. So then, now the gopis are chanting. They're all together. And it even says here, that we can skip forward to the next, where is it? Still have a little bit of time. Okay, so the first verse of the next chapter is the Gopi songs of separation. Now Krishna's, we're going to chapter 32 now, called the reunion. So this is the good news. There's going to be a reunion. So Krishna, now seeing that the gopis are all together chanting his glories, now he's going to appear. So text 1. Vishuka uvacha iti gopya pragayantya pralapantyascha chitrada rurudu suswaram rajam Krishna darshana lalasa. The last line of this is easy to understand. Krishna darshana lalasaha. Lalasa means hankering, like intense, like greed for something. You want it very badly. What do they want? Krishna darshana. Jukadeva Goswami said, O king, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the gopis, see if we had time, we could do the whole Gopi Gita. I was like wanting to do that. But anyways, suffice it to say that they spoke and sang their hearts out in various charming ways. After this, the gopis began to weep loudly. They were very eager to see Lord Krishna. Then, Tasam avira buchchori maya mana mukambuja pitambara dhara shragvi sakshan manmata. So they saw this pitambara dhara. The first thing that hit their eyes was the pitambara dhara, was the pitambara. What's pitambara? It means his yellow clothes. They saw his gorgeous yellow garments. Then Krishna, a smile on his lotus face, appeared before the gopis. Wearing a garland and a yellow garment, he directly appeared as one who can bewilder the mind of Cupid, who himself bewilders the minds of ordinary people. So Krishna appears there. And he was so satisfied. Later. Find it. There was one phrase in the verse that I wanted to emphasize. Anyways, I'm not sure where it is now. But the phrase is pritai anyonya. So pritai anyonya might come a little later. Yeah. Pritai anyonya. Anyonya means among each other. And pritai comes from priti, which means affection. So Krishna, seeing their affection, the affection that they had amongst themselves, then that's what induced them to appear. And so in text 3 of this chapter, we see that that the rasa dance is going to begin again in all of its glory. Let me just go back a little bit, because before the rasa dance begins, something happens, and that is that the gopis kind of call Krishna out, because after all, he abandoned them, and they're happy that he came back, but still, the wound in their heart is still fresh. You know, it's still like a raw wound that he caused them that pain of just abandoning them. So let's go to text 17 of chapter 32. Here. Oh, sorry. Text 16. Text 16 is where the gopis speak. Shri Gopya Uchu Bhajato Nu Bhajantyeka Eka Etad Viparyayam Nobayamscha Bhajantyeka Etan No Bruhi Sadubho. The gopi said, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate towards them, while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. And yet others will not show affection towards anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter towards us. This matter to us. So so the gopis are, the commentators say, by this apparently polite question, the gopis want to expose Lord Krishna's failure to properly reciprocate their love. They were very disturbed when Sri Krishna left them in the forest, and they want to know why he caused them to suffer in these loving affairs. So they're saying, Krishna, we was nothing but affectionate to you, but you didn't reciprocate. What kind of a person are you? So then now Krishna is going to explain himself. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Mito Bhajanti Ye Sakya Swartai Kanto Dhyamahite Nayatra Sohridam Dharma Swartartam Taddinanyata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, so-called friends will show affection for each other only to benefit themselves, who are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. So then Krishna is actually glorifying the gopis' love here. He's saying that in the gopis' pure loving relationship with him, there's no sense of selfish interest, but rather only love for one's friend. And the next verse. Bhajantya bhajito yevai karuna pitaro yata dharmo nirapavadotra sohridam jas madhyama. Sorry. My dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful, or like parents naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true faultless path of religion, and they are the true well-wishers. And so he's saying, there are some people that will be nice to people only if they expect that people will do good things for them in return. That's okay, that's better than nothing, but it's not the best. Now he's saying there are some people that will be nice, be affectionate to others, with no, even if the others fail to reciprocate. So that's better. Now he says, Bhajato pi navai kechid, bhajantya bhajata kuta, atmarama hyapta kama, akritagya guru druha. Then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature, Then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature ungrateful, or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them, what to speak of those who are inimical. So there are other people who they're not affectionate, even if others are affectionate to them. So, yeah. Okay, so now it gets to this. Hold on. Let's go for a couple more verses here. Natam tisakyo bhajato pijantum bhajam yamisham anuvritti vrittaye yatadano labdadane vinashte tachintayanyam nibrito naveda. Now he's saying, but the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. So he's saying that, these different kind of friends or lovers, people who exchange affection, and your love is so glorious. You're the kind of people that are affectionate towards somebody, even someone who doesn't reciprocate, such as me. I don't reciprocate, but still you're affectionate to me. And you're thinking that I'm the other way around, that I'm the kind of person that even when people are very affectionate to me, I don't reciprocate. But I just want to explain myself that it's not that I don't reciprocate, but sometimes I don't immediately reciprocate. And there's a reason for that. He's saying the reason I don't immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. So you gave me so much love in the rasa dance. You were offering me garlands. You were offering me your hearts. And I disappeared. I didn't even accept the garland. Before the garland could fall on my shoulders, I just ditched you. I just disappeared. It wasn't that I didn't accept your love. It wasn't that I didn't reciprocate with your love, but that was my reciprocation with your love. My reciprocation is that I appreciated your love so much that I couldn't get enough of it, that I wanted more and more of it. And so I disappeared just to increase your love, to make you feel like a poor man who had money and lost it. You had me and then you lost me. And when a poor man loses their money, when a rich person loses money, then, oh well, easy come, easy go. I have a lot more where that came from. But when a poor man gets money, he's very, very protective of it because he knows the value of money, because he's experienced poverty. So when you're separated from me and then you get me, you appreciate my presence so much. But then when you again lose me, then you become just like that poor man who's so anxious about his wealth that he can think of nothing else. And so your thoughts become even more deeply absorbed in me. So that's what I was trying to achieve. So let's go to the next verse. Evam marato jitaloka veda swanam hivo mayanuvrittaye bala maya paroksham bhajati tirohitam mashuyatam marhatatat priyam priya. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion, of the Vedas, and of your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings toward me, your beloved. They say, I didn't leave you because of lack of love. I left you, I kept loving you. And in fact, I left you because I loved you and because I wanted to love you even more. And also because I wanted to bring you to situation of loving each other even more, so that when we're reunited, we can all experience the full glory of the rasa dance without any tinges of any kind of moods. Because sometimes you may be in kirtan, and you're in kirtan, and you're really trying to get into it. You're really trying to hear the names and chant from the heart and all that. But then you notice there's somebody in the room who's also in the kirtan, and they're giving you some bad look, or maybe they're like talking to somebody else, and they're like, they're saying bad things about you. And so it kind of like it just prevents you from hitting that next that getting really that ecstatic in kirtan. It kind of like brings you down. So when Krishna sees that there's any little tinge of the slightest little bit of animosity amongst the gopis in their sankirtan of the Rasa Leela, then he's like, no, we have to get rid of that. I want everyone to be friends here. I want everyone to love each other here. So that's another reason why he left, is to make the kirtan more ecstatic, so that everyone can get into it. So there's no barriers. There's nothing that's weighting someone down in the kirtan. Everyone is just hitting the ceiling, dancing in the kirtan. And of course, this kirtan that we're talking about is Krishna's Rasa Leela kirtan. That they're just like dancing and singing and loving Krishna and each other with total abandon, nothing holding them back. That's what Krishna wanted. So we read the last verse here, which is a very famous verse. Naparayeham niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibudayusapiva yamabhajam durjarageha shikalam sambrichya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna. So Krishna's the very famous statement that Krishna says, my dear gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So Krishna is saying here that your love for me is so great, it's greater even than my love for you. He said, I feel terrible to say it, but, I never left Mother Yashoda. I never said goodbye to Nanda Maharaj. I'm going back home to them. But you abandoned your husbands. You abandoned your families. You risked your reputation. For a boy like me to go and do something crazy in the middle of the night, that's just normal. That's what guys do. They go out and, do wild things. But for a girl, especially in the culture, for a girl, she's supposed to stay at home and protected and shy and chaste. For a girl to go dance with a young man in the middle of the night, you just totally blew out your whole reputation for my sake. You risked being rejected by your families and having to live in the forest like tribal women for the rest of your life because maybe they're not going to accept you back. For me, I know Mother Yashoda, no matter what I do, she's going to embrace me when she sees me. And, nobody's going to criticize me too much. They might just make some jokes about me, but I don't mind. I can take that. So Krishna's saying what you gave up for me is much more, is far greater than what I've given up for you. The sacrifice that you've made for me is far greater than the sacrifice that I've made you. And the love with which you love me is far greater than I can love you. And therefore, I'm just a debtor. I'm just forever indebted to you. There's no way that I can repay you for your love. You're talking about how I need to reciprocate with your love. It's impossible. I can never reciprocate with your love fully. I can only just try my best. But you're going to have to be happy with the ecstasy that comes from your own service. So like that, this chapter ends, and the next chapter starts. Oh, this is where the verse was that I was. Okay. It's in the next chapter. We're covering a lot of chapters here. So in chapter 33, text 2, then Shukadeva Goswami says this verse. Tatra rabata govindo rasa kridam anuvratai Sri Ratnar anvita pritar anyanyo bada bahubi. Here's where it is. Pritar anyonya. So now, right now that everybody has just bared their soul to each other, and express their deepest, most loving feelings, and everybody's all united. So Shukadeva Goswami is acknowledging this, that now that they're joined together with love, that they're completely all with affection for each other. There on the Yamuna's banks, Lord Govinda then began the pastime of the rasa dance in the company of those jewels among women, the faithful gopis who joyfully linked their arms together. So it's not only that they were dancing with their arm linked with Krishna, but they also had their arms linked together, which signifies that they all loved each other. And then the rasa dance, the whole rest of that chapter is describing the rasa dance, so we're not going to read all that. But I just want to speak a little bit on this point of that, Krishna wants to see loving relationships between the devotees. He really wants us to love each other. And Srila Prabhupada said very famously that if your love for me will be shown by how well you cooperate to push on this movement. And Prabhupada spoke about how our relationship should be based on love and trust, right? So, and Srimati Radharani also wants this so badly because she knows that it pleases Krishna. She knows that Krishna is pleased by nothing more than when he sees the devotees loving each other and trusting each other and cooperating together in his service. So much so that she sends her most intimate maidservant, Sri Rupa Manjari, to this world as Rupa Goswami to teach us how to love each other. Right? So in Nectar of Instruction it says, Dadami pratigrinati Guyamakyati prichati Punkte bojayate chaiva Shadvidam priti lakshanam. So we're just seeing this priti anyonya, affection. That when we have affection between each other, then Krishna is happy to dance. Right? So we want Krishna to dance in our lives. So we need to develop, we need to work on this priti lakshanam. And we can cultivate it, we can actually actively cultivate these loving relationships in 6 ways. Rupa Goswami says, Shadvidam priti lakshanam. So it starts with offering gifts to devotees and accepting gifts in return. Then revealing our hearts and minds in confidence and also inquiring confidentially from devotees. And then offering prasadam to devotees and accepting prasadam. The simple ways. And these 6 loving exchanges actually develop, they awaken love for everyone, and they also awaken our dormant love for Krishna. And then Rupa Goswami also says in the same book that we should avoid those things that can cause, that can harm our relationships with other devotees. For example, atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. That we should avoid being greedy, like overeating, like going to the prasadam and taking everything for ourselves and seeing that there's a long line, but still like taking a lot, and knowing that, there's not going to be enough for the last person. So sort of being greedy, not considering the needs of others or the feelings of others. And prajalpa, speaking gossip, gossiping about devotees. And usually gossip is criticism, right? So criticizing devotees is very destructive to our relationships. So Rupa Goswami is saying that avoid these things. These things destroy devotional service. He says that how's the last time? Sadbir bhaktir vinashyati. That these things destroy. Vinashyati means they destroy devotional service. So like that. And then he says when he's talking about different levels of devotees, he goes through the different levels of Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. And we can see that the level of your spiritual advancement is based on how you relate with other devotees. So the Kanishta Adhikari is the person who comes to the temple and, oh, Krishna, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful, and then just like doesn't care about the devotees. Is very dismissive of, the feelings of the devotees, is not grateful or appreciative of the service of other devotees. That's the lowest level of devotee, that you worship Krishna, but you don't serve the devotees. You don't love the devotees. And then the middle level devotee is Madhyam Adhikari. So the Madhyam Adhikari is where you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you make friendship with the devotees. You practice these 6 loving exchanges. You develop affectionate relationships with the devotees. And you also give mercy to those who are not devotees, to try to make them devotees so that they can also be our friends and engage in these loving exchanges and as part of our loving devotional community. And we, out of mercy, we also avoid people who are very antagonistic, who, if we interact with them, would, make offenses or offend Krishna or other devotees or cause some harm to devotees. So we just try to keep them pacified by keeping at a safe distance, like that. So that's the middle level devotee. And then the Uttama Adhikari, the greatest devotee, is the one whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. That they don't even have a thought. Even if the person has faults, they don't see the faults, right? So, yeah, that's the greatest devotee, is the one who totally overlooks the faults and sees only good qualities. Even if the person is an ocean of faults but has one good quality, they see that quality. They see only that quality, not the other things, and they fan the spark of that good quality, and they encourage the devotee. They appreciate them for that good quality, and they're grateful for that person being in the association of devotees so that they can serve Krishna with that one good quality that they have, which is brilliant. So like that, and then Rupa Goswami goes through the different categories of devotees, saying, there's this devotee, and then higher than them is this devotee, and higher than them is this devotee. And of course, the highest devotee is Srimati Radharani. He says that of all the damsels, of all the best gopis, the best devotees are the gopis, and of all the cowherd damsels of Raja, Srimati Radharani is the most dear. And similarly beloved to Srimati Radharani is her place, Radha Kund. So the nectar of instruction finishes with Radha Kund reigning supreme among holy dams, because Radharani's love for Krishna is most openly and intensely expressed at Radha Kund. And so Rupa Goswami is encouraging us to live at Radha Kund. But what does it mean to live at Radha Kund? To live at Radha Kund means to enter into the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna, their Madhurya Leela. And how can we do this? Only by loving each other, only by having loving relationships with devotees, because this is the ticket for entering into Radha and Krishna's transcendental loving pastimes. So we see this theme throughout the whole Rasa Leela, throughout Radharani's and the gopis' dealings with Krishna, is that Krishna is very pleased when we love him and we love each other too. And we can't fully love Krishna without loving each other, and we can't fully love each other without loving Krishna. So the two things are inseparable, and this is really the sign of spiritual advancement. So whenever we have a little feeling to criticize someone, we should note in our hearts that, this is a symptom of my lack of love for Krishna. And we should try to drive that thought away. Just chase it away with a blowtorch, with a leaf blower or whatever, Just get far from my mind, and Krishna, please remove this fault-finding propensity from my heart, so that I can love your devotees purely and completely, and love you, following in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani. So I'll conclude here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Kala Chanji ki jai. Shri Radhashtami Mahamahotsava ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees.